Alright guys, so today what we're going to be getting into, we're going to start off with a review from last week's game. We went over the 2020 Four Nations Cup game between USA and Greece, and in that game we went over quite a few situational breakdowns. We went over some front court defense, some 6-on-5, some counterattack stuff, and some 5-on-6. Today, what we're focusing on from the film that we watched this week is 6-on-5. Okay, so again, review from last week. We talked about front court defense, the importance of understanding when we're on defense. We have to know where the ball, our player, the area we're in, and our responsibility on defense. So whether we're in a split, or if we're in a drop, like a zone, or if we're in a press. It's important that we communicate any switches or shifts by offense. So if there's a drive across or a clear out or a post up happening behind, we have to be communicating with our teammates to let them know what's going on. And then our job on defense is to force the offense to rush or make mistakes, right? Like the more that they're panicking, or the more that we can put them under pressure, the more likely they're going to make a bad decision and hopefully either miss a shot or create a turnover for us to attack the other way. And front court offense, the things that we wanted to, or the things that we talked about that we want to remember is we want to identify which side to get the ball on. So if we're working for our center, we have to identify what side the center is working towards and get the ball that way. If we're running a specific tactic for a drive or a post up, we want to be knowing what side of the pool we're making that attack towards, so we can get the ball to that side. We also want to be using our fakes and drives and post-ups to create as much space as possible to create more scoring opportunities, right? So we can drive across to create an isolation on one side or the other, or we can spread out and look like a shooter so that we can create more room for our center or post-up players to receive a pass from the perimeter. It's important to force the defenders to commit and get out of position, right? And we can do that by the ways that we just talked about: faking, driving, or posting up. And then one of the most important things is when we're ready to take a shot, we have to be ready to get back on defense to prevent any counterattacks the opposite way. When we talked about defense, or counterattack defense, the most important thing to do is to protect the middle, right? So that area right in front of the cage is the highest scoring percentage in the game. So we want to protect that area first. So when we transition from offense to defense, the first place we need to go is get down to the 2 right in front of the cage and protect against any offensive players that are in that area. On the counterattack, we also want to avoid allowing any cross passes, right? So if there's like a 2-on-1, we want to put our goalie in a position where he can focus on one player. If we're the player that's chasing and we go chase the ball, but there's a player on the other side of the pool that he can make an easy cross pass to, it's going to put our goalie in a very bad situation, because he's going to have to try and rotate all the way over to the other side of the goal to make a stop, which is very, very difficult. And once we have the middle protected on our counterattack defense, then we can adjust, right? And we can adjust by communicating. So once we have that center or post-up player or players covered on the posts, then we can decide, okay, who's the next biggest threat? Who do we need to go cover now? And we can do that just by communicating with each other. On the offensive side of the ball on the counterattack, it's important that we get the ball down to the furthest player. Right, getting the ball down to the furthest player is going to force the defense to have to spread out. Right, the wider we are with the ball, the more likely the defense is going to come out towards us, and the closer we get to the goal, same thing, right? They're going to want to come and jump on us. It's important that we identify the advantage and attack open water. So if you see a defender going out to guard a player with the ball in front of you, and there's an open area behind them, we want to attack that open area to force that defender to have to decide whether to stay out and guard the ball or to drop back and pick you up. So same thing, we want to force the defenders to commit, and then when we can, we want to pass the ball to the open player and look for an easy shot. On 5-on-6 defense, it's important that we're aware of our responsibilities. Who's the player? Who's the shooter that I have to block? When do I have to get back onto the post? Are the post players shifting up or sliding out? Are the perimeter players rotating left or right? We have to be aware of all these things. Make sure we're not overcommitting to the perimeter, as the post players have the highest scoring percentage on 6-on-5s. So if you're one of those top 2 defenders, that X4 or X5 defender, we don't want to get caught chasing a guy way out. We want to sit back on the post with our blocks and make sure that there's no easy passes getting into that post player. Okay, and then leading into 6-on-5, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Last week we talked about the importance of keeping the ball dry with our passes, always looking like we're a threat, so getting up big, using our fakes to force the defender to jump out to us, and then shifting to force the defenders out of position, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, and then making sure our post players are always looking and are ready to receive a pass. Okay. So some of the 6-on-5 do's and don'ts. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it's relative for today's presentation. Move the ball efficiently, attack open space, cause the defense to get out of position by moving yourself or moving them. And then don'ts, we don't want to hold the ball, we don't want to put the ball in the water, and we definitely don't want to rush. Okay. So for today's game, what we're going to be looking at is that 2020 European Championship game between Hungary and Spain. Now this was the preliminary game, so I think it was day 2. This game was obviously ended in a tie, but what's really impressive is that later in the tournament, I believe in the semifinal game, they actually met up again and tied again and went into a penalty shootout. Now, what that tells us obviously is both these teams are very evenly matched. So both games were very, very competitive. Now, when I did my breakdown of statistics, one of the things that I found really interesting was that both teams were 5 of 12 on 6-on-5. That's about 42%, which the average, I would say, is probably closer to around 33%. So both teams were very, very effective on their 6-on-5, which obviously stuck out to me and is why I kind of wanted to focus on 6-on-5 today. So to get started, we're going to be looking at some basic 6-on-5 concepts. We're going to start with our numbering system. Okay, this is going to be review for a lot of us, but for those who don't know, like here's how we do our numbering system. The first position is position 1. They line up on the 2-meter line. If we're facing the cage, they're wide and to the left. Position 2, or the 2-post player, okay, is lined up with even with the 2-post or the left post. Position 3, the 3-post, right, opposite side. Position 4 is on the perimeter, even with the 2-post. Position 5, opposite of position 4. And then position 6, opposite of position 1, right? And so when we set up our 6-on-5, this is the 4-2, as we call it, or 4-2 formation that we want to get into as quickly as we can, okay? Now, one thing that we're going to see in the clips that we watch, both teams do a really, really good job of sliding into space and moving the defense to create scoring opportunities. So what I want to do right now is just go over 2 ways that we can go or that we can slide and attack to create some pretty easy options for us too. And again, these are going to be familiar to a lot of us, but for those who haven't seen this before, this will be a good demonstration. So the first concept that we have is what we call a 6-in. And on a 6-in, what happens is when the ball gets to position 6, they're going to attack and slide inside the 2-meter, and towards the goal. Now, when they do that, it forces the defense to all shift to that side, okay? Now, because the 6 is inside the 2-meter line, it also allows more space in front of the goal for our team to score. Now, once the shift has happened, so when 6 attacks in, you'll notice that it's like a 5, 4, and 1 are all on a string, and they're all connected to position 6. So as they slide to the right, those other 3 positions will slide to the right as well. Now, the next thing that happens is the ball passes up to 5, and you'll see that position 6 and 2 have to get back out of the 2-meter line. As the ball comes over to position 4, center cage, that player 2, who was just inside the 2 looking for the cross pass from position 6, is going to be up behind the defender that's in between them and position 4. Now, our first option off this would be a pass over the top from position 4 to position 2, and then position 2 would take the shot, right? Or another option would be 4 over to position 1, and they would be able to take the shot. Okay, so those are 2 basic options when we run 6 in. Now, another option would be if 4's open when they first get that pass from position 5, center cage, they could also take that shot as well. Okay. Now, on the other side, when we run a 1 in, it's going to be a little bit different. Okay. So when 1 goes in, you'll notice 6 will go in with them. Okay, and this is really effective when there's a lefty at position 6. If we can catch the defense not paying attention, we can make that cross pass, and the left-handed player would be able to catch and have a pretty good angle at a shot right away. Or if the defenders overcommit, they could hit one of the 2 post players pretty easily. So once 1 goes in, just like in 6 in, 4 and 5 are going to shift to their left. Okay, so again, it's like those perimeter players are all connected by a string. So when one player slides one direction, the other players are going to slide in the same direction. Okay, so when the ball goes up to position 4, positions 1 and 6 have to get outside of the 2. 4 is going to pass it over to 5, and you'll notice that position 3 is going to start sliding up a little bit. And kind of like on the 6 in, when the 2 post was sliding into the back of that other defender, position 3 is going to start sliding up and pushing out the shot blocker towards position 5. And as he does that, he's going to create a little area for him to attack, or he's going to create an opening. And how he'll do that is when he pushes that defender, the defender that's behind him is going to have to make a decision to either stay back or to follow him up as well. And if he follows him up, it's going to leave an opening for position 6. But if he stays back, there can be a quick pass down to 6 and then a quick entry into position 3. Okay, so right here. They'd be able to take that quick shot in that open little area. Now, again, that has to happen very, very quickly because obviously we're working in a pretty confined area. But the post player needs to do a good job of creating space for themselves by giving a little shove or just being ready for that ball. Now, the other option would be if that post pass isn't there, would be giving the ball back up to position 5, who's now catching strong side, and then he can look to take a shot as well. Okay. Then if that obviously if none of those things are there, we just move the ball back around and we look to continue to attacking, and we could even shift back into another either 6 in or try and run it again. One thing that I like to do is when the ball gets over into this position here, to make the defense get out of position a little bit better, I like to have position 5 and 6 kind of go back and forth with each other while the 3-post player works to create that space. So it doesn't have to always be the first pass. Sometimes these players can move the ball back and forth a couple times before they make that attacking pass in. Okay. So on this 6-on-5, really what I want you guys to focus on is just the quickness that Hungary uses to move the ball. You'll see that there's very little time in between each pass. Each time a player touches the ball, it's 1, maybe 2 fakes attacking into space to draw the defense, and then moving the ball to the next player. And what that does is it forces the defense to commit to one direction or the other, and allows for an opening on the opposite side. So right here you see the ball going 6 in. They shift over to 4 center and then back to 5 wide. When they shift to that 5 wide, it forces a 3-on-2 on the right side of the pool and allows position 5 to create that little shooting angle. I'll see if I can slow it down here so you can get a better look. So when the ball goes over here, the shift happens, right? You see 5 is wide, 4 is center. Right here, it's a 3-on-3, right? So it's this player to this player. The X2 player is guarding the 3 post, and then the X3 player has a hand on the post as well with a shot block. But when the ball gets shifted over, that X5 player does follows his responsibility and shifts over to get a shot block as well. But because he leaves, there's now a 2-on-1 between the X3 defender and the position 5 who's wide and position 6. So it creates a difficult angle for this guy to have to decide whether to stay more middle and take the block, or to stay back and prevent the next pass over to 6. We'll let it run through one more time. Again, just notice how fast and how efficiently they move the ball. 1 fake, pass, pass. Step in, fake, pass. Now, on this one, you're going to notice it's very similar. You're going to see the ball get over to position 6, and they're going to rotate 6 in, which brings 5 wide and 4 center. Now, what you're going to see is because of the goal that we just saw, and again, this is in the same quarter, so it was really fresh in Spain's mind, you're going to see the X5 defender overcommit to the player who was at 5, okay, with the position of the goal that we just saw. So you're going to see that X5 defender overcommit to the wide player, and it creates a nice opening for the player who's at 4 center for that goal, right? Because there's no block, because the blocker who was supposed to be there had put too much pressure on the player who was 5 wide. Okay, so let's watch it again. So here's the 6 in. We see 5 out wide, 4 sliding center. Okay, ball's up to 4 center. Now right here, when this pass is happening, right, the ball goes out to 5 wide. We see this X5 defender over commit, and now there's no block in between or in front of that player who's 4 center, and it leaves them a pretty easy shot cross cage. Okay, we'll watch it one more time. And again, watch how quickly they move the ball, and every time that they slide or move, it forces the defense to shift. Okay. Here's the 6 in, 4 center. Okay, now on this 6-on-5 possession, we're going to see a 4-to-2 post pass. All right, so the first movement you saw was that 6 in motion again. Okay, so I want you guys to pay attention to the 2-post player and see how he's sliding up into the area in between the 2 defenders, right? So he's sliding up in the area in between the X1 and the X4 defender, and he does a really good job of sliding and pushing that defender out towards the shooter at position 4. Now, what that does, by him sliding up into that area, it puts that 3-on-2, right? It shifts the 3-on-2 to the left side of the pool. So between position 4, 2, and 1, that X4 and X1 defender are all caught between. So it's an easy goal for the offense because they just have to find the open player, which in this case is the 2-post. Okay. Now another thing I want you guys to see is this is a really good example of that little pop pass that we've practiced before, the little finger roll pass from the 4 to the 2 post. Okay, so let's watch that pass being made. It's going to be coming up right here. It's right over the top of the defense. Okay, it's gentle, it's not too high, it's not throwing it as hard as you can. It's just like a little off-speed pass right to the post player's hand so they can catch, turn, and then finish. Okay, watch it one more time. So right here, here's our 3-on-2. Right, here's our 3-on-2 advantage. Notice the little opening, the little bit of space that's open for the 2 posts to move towards the goal. As the X4 defender pushes out towards the 4 center, you see this nice little pass right over the top for the finish. On this 6-on-5, we're going to see a very similar situation to an earlier 4 center goal. That second one that we looked at where the X5 defender overcommits to the 5 wide player and leaves an opening on the perimeter so that the player at position 4 only has to beat the blocker in front of him. Okay, so let's watch closely. Okay, here's the ball over to 6. He goes 6 in to pull the defense, 5's wide, 4 center. Now right there, when that defender has overcommitted to the ball, here's our 3-on-2, right, that we're going to attack. And we're putting this defender, the X4 defender, in a tough spot because he has to choose whether or not to slide over to get his block or to stay back on the post player. So he's just kind of stuck in no man's land there. And then Varga has an easy shot, only having to beat that blocker for the goal. So again, here we go. 6 in. They followed 1 in. 5's wide, 4 center. Again, good job moving the ball, moving the defense, and then just beating your block. And one more time. I really like the way that before they move or make any shifts, they do a good job of just making a couple quick passes just to get the defense out of rhythm. Then once they're ready after a few passes, then they go into their shifts. On this next possession, what we're going to see is more of a goal from 6 pocket. We're going to see a 1 in, so we're going to see the offense of the perimeter players on the 6-on-5. They're going to shift to their left, and again, like earlier when we saw the goal from 5 wide, it's a similar situation because we get that the X5 to defender to overcommit towards the middle, leaving a 2-on-1 on the right side for an easy cross cage shot for our lefty. Okay, so let's let it run through. Ball's going to move a couple times, just quick passes, get the defense moving. Okay, right here we're going to shift into our 1 in. Cross pass over to 6. Now 5's going to slide center here. We have 4 wide, and we can see already the defender chasing the player that's 5 center. Okay, and once he's chased 5 center, we have that 2-on-1 situation that we talked about earlier, and all the lefty has to do here is now just put the ball where it needs to go. So again, a couple quick passes to get the offense ready, to get the defense out of rhythm. Keeping the ball dry, elevated, fakes every time they touch the ball to engage the defense. There's the cross pass to 6, 5 center, pull the defense, back to 6, elevate, and shoot.
Okay. This next one is Spain's first 6-on-5. Actually, it's a 6-on-4, and it's pretty quick. But all I want you guys to see is just how quickly they move the ball, they get the ball to their score, and they create that one-on-one mismatch over at position one. Okay, so because they're in a 6-on-4, usually, I mean, obviously the defense is at a major disadvantage here. They have to have two players guarding the middle of the post, so they're just switching back and forth. Spain does a good job of identifying that really, really quickly, and then getting the ball over to position one, where position one, all he has to do is elevate and just beat his blocker one-on-one, which is a pretty good scoring chance for them. Okay, so one more time, and it's pretty quick. So there's a foul there. You get away with a close ball under here. Make the defense shift. There's the one-on-one. And beat the blocker. Okay, now on this next 6-on-5 for Spain, we're going to see a one-in. Now, one of the notions that some of us get when we go into these shifts of one in or six in, we feel like, oh, because I'm the player going in, I'm not going to be the one that we're running the play for. I'm not going to be the one that gets to shoot the ball. And that's definitely not the case. The whole reason that we do these shifts is solely just to move the defense. So as you'll see here, the play they ran was they went in one in, then they shifted it over to six went in, and then one still moves up into the pocket and creates a little scoring opportunity for himself by beating that blocker on the near side. So watch the movements that position one makes. Okay, so first he's attacking in, forces the defense to shift to the left side of the pool. Then they go over to six. Okay, now you see one start sliding back up into the pocket here, and all he has to do is beat that block, which is pretty easy because the X1 defender has put a lot of attention on the two post, so it's difficult for him to get back over his hips to take that near side block. Okay, so he's up on the two post right here. It's really high. Once one gets the ball, there's no way he's going to be able to block this left side of the goal. Okay, and it's a pretty easy little wrap shot for him right there, or a lean shot. Okay, so let's go a little bit slower. So right here, when the ball goes down to one and he attacks in, see how he has pulled those three defenders over to the left side of the cage, right? And that by pulling those three defenders, he's created a mismatch on the other side of the pool. There's a 3-on-2 on the other side of the pool. Okay. Then when the ball shifts back over to six is going to do the same thing. He brings the ball in. There's three defenders now on the right side of the pool, and the 3-on-2 is now on the left side. Okay, so the ball gets up to 5, then up to 4. Okay, defense does a good job of shifting. Maybe a little bit of bad communication here as far as the X2 defender and the X1 defender are both a little too heavy on the two post. But once that pass gets down to 1, right, all he has to do is beat that near side block. Okay, so one more time. Again, just because we go 1 in or just because we go 6 in doesn't mean those two players aren't allowed to shoot. If they're moving and they're sliding and they're getting into their open area, there's gonna be opportunities for them to create scoring chances. On this 6-on-5, what we're gonna see is a 4-3 pass for the goal, and what I want the focus to be on is watching the 3 post, how he's constantly staying engaged and putting himself in a position to score. So he's always looking to find that open water to receive a pass. Every move he makes, he's opening his body up and showing his teammates that he's open, or not necessarily open, but ready to receive a pass if the pass is thrown. Okay, so he's facing the ball, facing the ball, facing the ball, still facing the ball. Then he does a good job here of when that defender, the X3 defender, overcommits out to 6. It's that quick little push off for the catch and shoot. Okay, now how that's created is you're going to see they go one in here, right? They're going to make the defense shift to the left side of the pool. They're 5 center right now, so when 5 is center, it's forcing that X5 defender out more than they normally would be. Okay, because that defender is out so far, there's more space for the 3-post player to work. Okay, so we're going to see here, there's the shift out to 6 in the pocket. We have an easy 2-on-1 here, right? We have a 3-on-2 on this side of the pool. Ball goes up to position 5 center. This player has committed to 5 center. This player's committed out to 6, and no one is guarding the 3-post, right? This would be the X2 defender's responsibility, but he's just not able to get there in time. Okay, so creates a really, really easy scoring chance for Spain. All right, let's watch it again. Again, moving the ball quickly to pull the defense. Here's the second shift, 1 in, 4 wide, 5 center. Easy goal. Now, on this next one, we're going to see it's going to end up being a rebound goal, which is it's good awareness from the player at 4, knowing how much time's on the shot clock and seeing that the defender who went for the steal overcommitted and there's no block in front of him and created a good opportunity. But what I want you guys to focus on this possession, before that goal happens, notice the movement or the shifts that Spain makes in creating the chance that they wanted to get initially. Okay, so you're going to see both the ball go over to 1, and they're going to go 1 in. Okay, they're going to go 1 in here. They're going to cross it over to 6, and right here, when the ball gets over to 6, the X3 defender is out with the block. The X2 defender has to commit to the 3-post, and that leaves the 2-post open. Okay, now the pass is made, and it might have been a penalty called there, but again, just the importance of shifting and getting the defense to move out of position is huge. If we can get that entry into the post, like we talked about earlier, that's the highest scoring percentage or the highest scoring chance that we're going to have on a 6-on-5. So getting those defenders to move with our shifts is very, very important. Now, again, that goal that scored, like, that's just good awareness, understanding there's only 2 or 3 seconds on the shot clock when he receives the rebound, and then seeing that, okay, the defender has played too far to one side, there's no blocker in front of him, and he's going to have a quick, easy shot with no contest. So then there's the 1 in, cross to 6, X3 defender with a block, X2 defender on the 3-post, nowhere in between, there's no one in between the 2-post and the 6th player, so it's a pretty safe pass to make. Again, it could be a penalty here, as I think the X1 defender might be holding a little bit, but ball gets tipped out, good recognition, and a good shot. So one more time. Again, notice how both players at 1 and 6, 1 shifts into the 2 and then makes the cross pass to 6, who's also in the 2, and it really strains that bottom line defense of Hungary. The 3 players have to guard 4, which obviously isn't easy to do. So here's the cross pass. There's the open on the 2-post. All right, no call, but then good recovery for a goal. So on this last one, what you're going to see, again, you're going to see a 1 in. And notice when Spain goes 1 in, how compact the Hungarian defense gets in front of the cage, right? This is a really good demonstration of why we want to be attacking 1 in or 6 in, and why we want to get the ball all the way to the goal line. It really forces the defense to commit to getting back, and the further back we can compact the defense, the closer our perimeter players can get to the goal, right? And as we know, the closer we get to the goal, the easier opportunity we're going to have to score. So let's watch this a couple times. Okay, so again, Spain does a good job of moving the ball around the perimeter before they shift. Okay, just to kind of read the defense, see what they're doing. Okay, once the shift happens, okay, look at all 5 Hungarian defenders are really, really tight in front of the cage. Now, with this shift, take a look. You're going to have that 3-on-2 created with a ton of space, right? So you have position 5, who's center cage. You have 2 players, the X5 and the X3 defender, both compacted back on the 3 post. And then the position 6 player is kind of unguarded here. So you have a really good 3-on-2 advantage on the right side of this attack. Okay, so once the ball skips over to 5 center, right, it's really easy for the defender, for the offensive player to make that next read, because if this X5 defender commits out to the shooter and the X3 player sits back on the 3 post, that means the player at 6 has no one guarding them. Okay, now, once the ball gets over to 6, the X3 defender does a pretty good job of recovering, but it's still a 2-on-1 situation here where he's not going to be sure if he is able to completely commit out to hitting the shooter or if he has to sit back. And because he's kind of stuck in no man's land, it allows this lefty to just straight up beat him under the arm and take that near side shot, because obviously he's not sitting back on his block. He's trying to go out a little bit too much. Okay, so let's watch this again. We're going to see the shift here in a second. There's the 1 in. The defense collapses. They hit 5 center, who's open. They attack the 2-on-1 on the right side, and then the lefty just has to beat the 1 blocker who just came off of protecting against the 3-post player. So again, watch the movement. See how efficiently they move the ball. Every pass they make, they're attacking and sliding in to try and force the defense into one direction. Once they make the defense commit, they identify where the advantage is. In this case, it's that 2-on-1 between the 3-post and the position 6 player, and get the ball there, and then do a good job of executing and putting the ball away. Right. 1 in, 5 center. The X5 defender commits out. There's the 2-on-1, quick shot, and the goal. Now, some of the things I hope we saw today in these 6-on-5 situations, some of the similarities, most of the goals that were scored were due to a couple things. One, obviously, moving the defense, getting them to shift and finding the advantage, either a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1 on the opposite side of the pool. But if we notice, most of the goals that were scored were due to the offense creating a better shooting angle for themselves. Okay, so for example, the goals from 4 center, there was a goal from 5 center, and then the goals from the goals from the posts that were obviously right in front of the cage. So one thing that we want to try and do, or one tendency that we want to try and create when we're playing 6-on-5, is if we can create a better shooting angle for us by sliding towards the middle of the cage, by, like I said, going 4 center or 5 center, or bringing positions 1 or 6 into the pocket, it's going to be much more effective for us in scoring the ball. For next week, the film that we're going to watch is the rematch of these two teams in the final. Okay, so it's the gold medal final at the European Water Polo Championships in Budapest. And what I want you guys to do is, when you watch that game, see if you notice any differences or similarities in the way these two teams played each other. Was there a specific style that you saw in the first game that you didn't see in the second game, or was it more physical? Was there a different tactic that one team was trying to run that they didn't do in the first game? That's what I want you guys to focus on for next week's film. Okay. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation today. I mean, I love talking about 6-on-5. If you guys have any questions or there's any other situations you guys want to talk about, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Again, I know we're 2 months into, just over 2 months into being quarantined, so we're starting to, or not starting, we have been going a little stir crazy, and we want to get back into the pool as soon as we can, but make sure we're taking time and taking advantage of this time to improve our mental game and being getting more familiar with different situations to better ourselves before we get back into the pool. Okay, so we miss you guys. We hope to see you guys soon. And again, if you have any questions or there's anything that you guys want to go over, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Coach Vanessa, and we'll gladly have a conversation with you guys. Okay.